الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيد المرسلين يا خاتم النبيين يا شفيع المذنبين يا أنيس الغريبين يا رحمة للعالمين صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. Inshallah, we've been talking about, I've been trying to figure out I've been trying to figure out what's going to be the best way to talk about all of this without bouncing around too much and confusing people as to what's going on when. So I sort of settled on kind of a more basic approach of just talking about the individuals by themselves, and then which will cross over somewhat, but inshallah people will be able to connect the dots, and where I feel it might be a difficult connection, then we'll make those connections as well. Today the intention is to start talking about Imam Zainul Abedeen as an individual, instead of just talking about historically this happened, and this happened, but kind of take him, and then we'll move on from there, inshallah. So, but before I talk about him, because today is the 22nd of Dhul Hajj, and today is significant. I mean, every day has many significances. One of the significance of today is the martyrdom of Imam, radiallahu anhu, rahmatullah alayh. And of course, most of us don't even know who he is. So to kind of give a background, when Ali radiallahu anhu, he came to Kufa. So if you remember, all of the turmoil is going on. Ali radiallahu anhu decides to move the capital from Medina Munawwara to Kufa to get all of this turmoil out of the city of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also give him more of a central location in order to control the current issues. So when he arrives in Kufa, he sees this young man who is a slave, and he's Persian origin from that area, but he's slave. So he goes to the owner, who was a woman, and he asks her, he says, how much will you sell him for? And she says 50 dinar. He says fine. And with the ease that he said fine, she says, wait, let's make it 100. He says okay. And then again, maybe let's make it 150. And it keeps going until finally they settle at 500 dinar. 500 dinar are the gold coins. Very, very expensive price for any slave, much less a young man who in appearance isn't that skilled. So he buys him, and then, with the intention of freeing him. And so he asked him, the slave, he says, why did you do this? I mean, why are you doing this? So he asked him, he said, what's your name? He says, Salim. He says, Ali radiallahu anhu says, no. He says, tell me that name by which Rasulullah referred to you by, Imam. So he tells him the name, Imam. And so he says that, my mother gave me that name, and no one here knows me by that name. And then he says, Sadaqallahu wa Rasuluh wa sadaqta ya Amirul Mu'mineen. Because no one could have known, there's no way, other than, revelation coming to Rasulullah and Rasulullah telling Ali directly, there's no way Ali could have known this. And so this is why he says that Allah is the truth, and Rasulullah has said the truth, and oh, you, Amirul Mu'mineen, you have spoken the truth. And so Ali takes him under his wing, because Rasulullah had mentioned things about him, before. And Ali also tells him the way he will be martyred, and where he will be martyred, and what tree he will be hung from. and we'll get back to that point in a second. He also meets Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, the mother of the believers, Salma, radiallahu anha, the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he meets her at one point, and when she meets him, she says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned you. She says to Mitham, she says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned you, and so she has someone bring some ithr and place it on his face. And he says that today, Mitham, he says that today this ithr is placed on my face, and there will become a time when my face will be stained with blood, and there will be no ithr. And so she asks, she says, how do you know this? She says, because my master, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidi, has told me through the lips of Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajh. And she says that he is the master, not only your master, but he is the master of all of creation. Meaning that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the master of all of creation. So, Mitham, of course, he's amongst the supporters of Sayyidina Ali. He is amongst the supporters of Ahlul Bayt. And so when Imam Hussein al-Islam, so this is 30 years later, 30 plus years later, that other things that Ali had told him, because Ali had told him the tree that he would be hung from, and had told him that the limbs, all of the limbs of that tree will be cut, that date palm will be cut, except for the one that he'll be hung from. And had told him that he would be in the court of the ruler, and you have to understand that at this time, when you have the rule of Banu Umayyah, one of the key questions that they ask, Hajjaj bin Yusuf was well known for this. All the kings of Banu Umayyah were well known for this. If they had an issue with somebody, it was over their support for Ali. And when they would bring him into the court, they would ask him, what do you say about Ali? And if they said something positive about Ali, that was basically a death sentence. There were a few exceptions to that rule. And those exceptions were great companions such as Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abu Dhar al-Ghafari, and Abu Sayyid Khudri, radiallahu anhu. These, they could go and they would say what they wanted to say, but because of their status, they couldn't. The kings could, and the rulers or the governors couldn't do anything to them, because if they did anything, that would mean an uprising. But then you had people like Mitham, who not many people knew about then, other than those who were very close to Ali, sadly, not very many people know about him even today. And so, when Ibn Ziyad is sent as the governor of Kufa, so this is before Imam Hussein al-Islam arrives in Kufa. Ibn Ziyad has heard about Mitham, and he calls him into the court. And he asks him, he says he wants him to curse Ali. And he refuses, and he basically sings the praises of Ali. So Ibn Ziyad has his hands and his feet cut. And when he has his hands and his feet cut, Mitham, he says, oh, this isn't a big deal, because Ali told me that Rasulullah said that my hands, my feet, and my tongue will be cut, and that I will be hung. And so, we can't imagine. Again, his hands are cut, his feet are cut, and he's still calm enough, collected enough, with it enough to know what he's saying, and to know what the truth is, and to stick to the truth. We in a little pain and we forget everything. Again, his hands, and there's no anesthesia. The only anesthesia is the love of Allah and His Messenger and Ahlul Bayt. That is their anesthesia. And so he says to Ibn Ziyad, he says, Ali already told me that this will happen to me. So it's not a big deal. So on the 20th of Zil-Hajj, they hung him up from that same tree that Ali had told him, you will be hung from this tree. So this is 30 years later that he's being hung from that tree that Ali had told him that you will be hung from this tree. And they hung him upside down. They didn't hang him by his neck. They hung him upside down. Because this is a way of torturing people. And you hang somebody upside down, blood rushes to the head. And it's a slow, painful death. Because, you know, the body, the veins and the arteries and the system aren't designed for you to be on your head all the time. You know, so the blood can't get back up. And the face swells, the head swells, the brain swells, and then eventually you die. So they hung him upside down, and as he's hanging upside down, he's still singing the praises of Ali. And so the guy who lived next door to that tree, who was a supporter of Ibn Ziyad, he comes to Ibn Ziyad and he says, you have to cut his tongue. He won't shut up. And Ibn Ziyad says, if I cut his tongue, then Ali will be truthful. What Ali said will be true. You know, he said he'll cut his feet, his hands, and his tongue. So I don't want to cut his tongue. If I cut his tongue, then that proves the truthfulness of Ali. So he says, the neighbor, he says, if you don't cut his tongue, the way he's speaking, all of Kufa will turn against you. Because you have to understand here the dynamics. You know, just like in society in general, the reality is the minority rules. You go anywhere in the world, and this has been the system from the beginning, because you have the majority who claim, yeah, we want this, but they're not willing to stand for it. They're not willing to you only have a few that are really willing to die for what they believe. The rest of them, yeah, they're the majority. If you gave them a vote, they would say this way. But if you threaten them, then, well, you know, we don't want to die. So the same thing, when you think about it historically, you know, Nazi Germany, only 10% of the population was Nazi. And yet that 10% controlled the masses. You think about here in the United States, you know, in the South, when you had slavery, only 10% of the population of the South were slave owners, yet they controlled everybody. You think about, you know, like the same thing in like India. How many people are truly Hindutva? It's a minority, yet they control. You know, here, if you talk to your average person, they don't want either one of these two clowns in there, right? Yet, one of those two clowns is going to be in there. So, it doesn't matter where you go, minority rules, because the majority tend to remain silent. So the same thing in Kufa at this point. The majority were in support of Imam Hussein al-Islam. The minority was not. The minority was vocal and had the power. So this is what that guy is telling Ibn Ziyad. He says, if you don't do this, then all of these people who are kind of borderline, they're going to shift very quickly, and you're going to lose control. So then they had to cut his tongue, exactly as Rasulullah SAW had said, and exactly as been narrated through the lips of Sayyidina Ali Karamallahu wajh. And so it took him 2 days, the 22nd of Zil-Hajj, which is today, and that's why I bring this up today. It took him 2 days before he finally passed. So that's one point that, or you know, one, I guess, personality that I wanted to mention today, Mitham. So again, he passed 22nd of Zil-Hajj, 60 Hijri, just before Imam Hussein al-Islam arrives in Karbala. So as I said, now we'll start talking about Imam Zainul Abedeen, inshallah. And we'll cover him kind of in more detail, and and then we'll move on, and we'll probably go to Imam Muhammad Baqir. I may jump over to Imam Hassan Muthanna just for a short bit, but we'll see. So Imam Zainul Abedeen, he of course is the son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He is the middle son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. His mother is Sherbano, who was a prince in Persia. So during the Khilafah of Sayyidina Umar, radiallahu anhu, when you had Persia being conquered, and towards the end of his Khilafah, you have basically the fall of Kisra, the Persian emperor, and so many of his family, as well as his generals and stuff, were captured and brought to Medina Munawwara. Amongst two of them, that were two princesses that were captured, were Sherbano and her sister. So these were princesses of Persia, of the Persian Empire, and they were brought in. And when they came, the interesting thing is, and you look throughout history, Islamic history, many of these prisoners, because of the way they were treated, just because of that treatment and what they saw, because they see within the reflection of the companions of Rasulullah, the reflection of Rasulullah. So you have many of them accepting Islam, and some of them were set free. It's interesting. You have the sister of Adi bin Hatim, who was the daughter of Hatim Tayyib. So she came. This is in the time of Rasulullah. She came. She was captured. He frees her before she accepts Islam, even though in her heart she's already accepted Islam. But she waits until she's freed, and then declares her Islam, because she doesn't want people thinking that she declared Islam because she was a captive. Same thing with one of the generals of Persia. He waits until he's freed during the Khilafah of Umar before he announces his Islam. And so, similar situation here. So these two, both of them accept Islam. They are freed, and then they are offered. They are asked what they want to do. And so many of them chose to stay in Medina, as did these two, even though they have the liberty of going back. But they chose to stay, and since they're women, they have no, and they were very young women, they have no, support or protection. So they were asked, if they wish to get married. They did. The son Abdullah ibn Umar married one of the sisters. Imam Hussein al-Islam married Sherbano. And so from her you have Ali Akbar and Ali Awsat. So Ali Akbar is the older son. He is martyred in Karbala. He's in his mid-20s at that time. Ali Awsat, which is Imam Zainul Abedeen, it's interesting because you get various ages. But you look at most sources and they'll tell you that he was born around 38 Hijri, which places him about 22 at the time of Karbala. If you read a lot of Shia sources, they try to make him like 10 years old or 12 years old, or, the reality is he looked younger than he was. And the reality is that he was right around 20 at the time of Karbala. Because other things, and we'll go over those later, inshallah. So, when the sun is out, the moon and the stars aren't very noticeable. You can still see the moon, when the sun's out, but all of your attention is toward the sun. You can't even see the stars. But then when the sun sets, then you see the moon. The moon now becomes the center, and the stars are still there. And now they're noticeable. And the reason I'm saying this is because, in the presence of Sayyidina Ali Karamallahu wajh, we don't talk about much of what Imam Hassan or Imam Hussein al-Islam did. Even though they did very many significant things. I mean, they were his generals. They literally were his representatives when he would send them off to go take care of things. And in the battles, they were in charge of various parts of the armies. So they did many significant things, but we don't really start talking about them until after he is martyred. And then mainly we talk about Imam Hassan al-Islam until he's martyred, and then we start talking about Imam Hussein al-Islam. Because again, when the sun is out, you don't pay attention to the moon or the stars. So the same thing here with Imam Zainul Abedeen. He is Imam in his own right, but we really don't notice him until after Imam Hussein al-Islam is martyred. So those are things to remember. It's not like, oh, they're not doing anything. They're there, they're doing things, but all of the focus is on. And this is traditional as well. If you look at the traditional family, you would have one head of household, and everything went back to him, right? These days it's very different, unfortunately, where nobody knows what's going on, right? You have the role reversal where the youth are running things, and the elders are in the background. Where it used to be the elders were in the forefront and the youth used to be in the background, which is more Islamic and more traditional. Is that the elders run things and the youth are in the background. So this is why, when we look at like the life of Imam Zainul Abedeen, we really don't notice him until after Karbala. So we've already talked about, when he's taking into the court of Ibn Ziyad. And so when he's taken from Karbala to Kufa. So there, when he's brought in front of Ibn Ziyad, and really, we should think about this differently. When we say, oh, he's brought in front of Ibn Ziyad. No, Ibn Ziyad is brought in front of him. He is on the right. He is on Haqq. So Ibn Ziyad is brought in front of him. Ibn Ziyad asks him, what's your name? He says, Ali. And Ibn Ziyad now is, we killed Ali in the battlefield. He said, no, that was my older brother. He's still, at this time, high fever, sick, and then he's drugged all the way through the desert, and they arrive in Damascus. And we spoke about that in detail, so I'm not going to go into details about the initial meeting with Yazid. But from there, eventually, they are taken into the masjid. And so when they go into the masjid, this is when, like, the blessed head of Imam Hussein al-Islam, which is on the spear. And as they're entering the masjid, there's a person reciting the Quran, and he's reciting the verse, Am hasibta anna ashab al-kahfi wa-raqim kanu min ayatina ajaba. That do you think, so a rhetorical question, do you think that the story of the tablet and Ashab al-Kahf is something strange? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you this, this is not very strange. This is a rhetorical question. And this is when Imam Hussein al-Islam from the spear responds, saying that that's not strange, my story is strange. Because, if you look at this, Ashab al-Kahf did what anybody would have done. They're being persecuted, they left. Imam Hussein al-Islam is being persecuted, and he goes into the battle, into the field, not running away. So that's more strange. Then the khatib, or the imam of the masjid, actually the person giving the khutbah, he is talking bad about Ahlul Bayt, about Ali, about Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein al-Islam. And so this is when the first time we will see Imam Zainul Abedeen stand out. So I'm going to read, because he says to the Imam, he says, get down from the member. And he doesn't even call it a member. He says this wooden thing. Because if it's the member of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're not going to be doing stuff like that. And so when he tells him to get down, he starts to go up. Then Yazid tries to stop him. But the people say, you know, he looks like a young boy. Yeah, let him speak. What's he going to say? And so he starts off with the hamd of Allah. And I'll just read the translation. All praise is due to Allah, who has no beginning, and the Eternal, who has no end. The one who is the first, but not in the sense of numbers, and the last, but not in the sense of ending. And the one who will last after everything perishes. He created nights and days, and distributed sustenance amongst the people. So blessed is Allah, the King, the All-Knowing. And then he continues on. He says, O people, we, Ahlul Bayt, we have been blessed with 6 qualities that have been preferred by 7 individuals. We have been blessed with knowledge, forbearance, generosity, eloquence, courage, and love in the hearts of the believers. We have been preferred over others through the chosen Prophet Muhammad is from us. The truthful one, Ali, who is from us. The one who flies is from us. The flying one is Imam Jafar al-Tayyar. So he flies with the angels. So the one who flies is from us. The lion of Allah and his messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is from us, meaning Hamza radiallahu. Because when Hamza radiallahu is being buried after Uhud, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is crying, and Jibreel alayhi salam says, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is written on the throne of Allah, Hamza Asadullah wa Asad Rasuluh, that Hamza is the lion of Allah and the lion of his Rasul, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The chief of the women of the world, the pure Fatima, is from us. And the Prophet's 2 grandsons in this community, Sibtain, Hassan and Hussein al-Islam, are from us. Whoever knows me, but the one who does not know me, I shall inform him of my status and noble descent. I am the son of Makkah and Mina. I am the son of Zamzam and Safa. I am the son of he who raised the black stone in his robe. So if you remember again, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they were rebuilding the Kaaba, and the argument came, who will place the black stone? Who placed the black stone? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I am the son of the best of the one who put on the shirt and the robe. I am the son of the best one who put on the shoes and walked. I am the son of the best one who did the tawaf and the sa'i. I am the son of the best one who did pilgrimage and responded to Allah's call. I am the son of the one who was carried on the Buraq in the heavens, and I am the son of the one who was taken in the night journey from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa. I am the son of the one who reached with Jibreel al-Islam to Sidrat al-Muntaha. I am the son of the one who reached very close to that holy spot, meaning Qaba Qawsayn, aw Adna. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, 2 bows length. And 2 bows length doesn't mean 2 bows laid out. 2 bows length means like you have 2 bows that are placed, the strings are placed together. So you make a circle. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says like 2 bows length or even closer. I am the son of the one who prayed with the angels 2 rakat. I am the son of the one who to whom Allah sent revelation. I am the son of Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I am the son of Ali al-Murtaza. I am the son of the one who subdued the people till they said, La ilaha illallah. This is when Ali was sent in Khaybar and various other battles, but specifically more Khaybar here. I am the son of the one who fought in defense of the Prophet ﷺ with 2 swords and 2 spears. Did 2 immigrations, pledged allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ twice, prayed toward 2 qiblas, courageously fought in Badr and Hunayn, and never ever disbelieved in Allah. So in Hunayn, you have a similar situation in Hunayn as you had in Uhud, where the people are pushed away from Rasulullah ﷺ. And in Hunayn, the people literally ran away from the Rasulullah ﷺ. And Ali radiallahu anhu stood fast. He did not move. I am the son of the righteous one amongst the believers, the successor of the prophets, destroyer of the disbelievers, leader of the Muslims, light of the mujahideen, prince of the worshippers, crown of those who cry in their prayers, the most patient of those who exercise patience, the best amongst those who stand for prayer from the family of Taha and Yasin, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the messenger of the Lord of the universe, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I am the son of the one who was supported by Jibreel and Mikail, in Badr and in the various other battles. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam literally would send Jibreel and Mikail to support Ali radiallahu anhu. I am the son of the one who protected the sanctities of the Muslims, who fought the rebels, the deviants, and the violators, and who confronted his hateful enemies. Rasulullah said about Sayyidina Ali, he says, you will fight the oath breakers, the rebellious, and the deviants. I am the son of the one who is most honorable among the Quraysh, and the first among believers to respond to Allah and His Messenger, the first and the foremost one, and the one who crushed the back of the rebels and destroyed the idol worshippers. I'm the one who was an arrow from the arrows of Allah against the hypocrites. I am the tongue of the he who is the tongue of the wisdom of the worshippers, the helper of Allah's religion, the friend of Allah, the garden of Allah's wisdom, the vessel of Allah's knowledge, the father of the 2 grandsons of the Prophet Al-Hasan and Al-Hussein, the demonstrator of the extraordinary feats, the destroyer of the divisions, the shooting star, the lasting night, the victorious lion of Allah. That is my grandfather, Ali bin Abi Talib. And every statement here that he makes, we could go back into the references historically and through hadith. Everything is sound. Yeah, there's no exaggeration here. You can only exaggerate when you know someone's limit. We don't even know the limit here. All right. I am the son of Fatima al-Zahra, alayhi salam. I am the son of the chief of the women. I am the son of the pure Batul. I am the son of the part of the messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I am the son of Khadijatul Kubra. Of course, Fatima al-Zahra, badatu minni. She is a part of me, what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Whatever pleases her, pleases me. Whatever displeases her, displeases me. So, if you think about that, we know that the pleasure of Allah lies in the pleasure of Rasulullah, and the pleasure of Rasulullah lies in the pleasure of Fatima. So if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. So the pleasure of Allah lies in the pleasure of Fatima salamullah alayha. Now he starts talking about his Imam Hussein alayhi salam. I am the son of the person killed unjustly, the son of the one whose head was severed from the back of the neck. I am the son of the one who was thirsty till the last moment. I am the son of the one who was abandoned in Karbala. I am the son of the one whose blood soaked in the dust. I am the son of the one who was slaughtered in Karbala. I am the son of the one whom the angels of the heavens cried, or son of the one on whom the angels of the heavens cried. I am the son of the one on whom the jinn in the earth and the birds in the sky wailed. I am the son of the one whose head was paraded on the spear. I am the son of the one whose family was made prisoners from Iraq to Sham. So when he gets to this point, as he's saying, I am, again, then Yazid, his reaction, he says to the muadhin, make the adhan. Make the adhan. And so he's making the adhan as the muadhin starts, and he says, Allahu Akbar. And Allah is great. So Imam Zainul Abedeen, he affirms. He says, Allahu Akbar. And then when he says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, I bear witness that there is no one worthy of worship but Allah. Again, Imam Zainul Abedeen affirms this. And then when the muadhin says, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then Imam Zainul Abedeen, he turns toward Yazid. He says, oh Yazid, this Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is my grandfather or your grandfather. If you say that he is your grandfather, then you are a liar, and you are automatically a kafir. And if you say that he is my grandfather, then why did you kill his family? Why did you kill my father and make the women captive? And so at this point now, Yazid, it's called the Iqamah. So it starts Salat. And the thing is, at this point, the eloquence of Imam Zainul Abedeen and every point he makes cannot be refuted. And so a large portion of the congregation just left at that point, because Yazid was going to be leading the prayer. The custom was that the governor or the king or whoever led the salat. So people, after hearing this and after realizing what Yazid has done, they say, oh, we're leaving. So this is where we get that first glimpse of Imam Zainul Abedeen. So this is, of course, Safar. The month of Safar is when that occurs. And then after Safar, eventually toward the end of Safar, they're sent back to Medina Munawwara. And so at this point, Imam Zainul Abedeen, he basically is kind of, you could think of this, kind of he's blacklisted, but he stays, for the most part, kind of to himself. One is because, of course, being blacklisted, people can't associate with him freely. And then the other is that, with everything that's happened, one time, like a year after he had come back, historically, 3 people's tears are well known. Adam alayhi salam, for the 300 years that he cried from the time being sent to the earth until the dua being accepted through the wasila of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Arafat. So 300 years. Yaqub alayhi salam, the separation of his son, and Imam Zainul Abedeen. And so a year after he had arrived back in Medina Munawwara, some young boy who didn't understand what had happened asked him, he said, oh, why don't we ever see you smile or laugh? Eyes always full of tears. So his response is from the Quran. He says, Yaqub alayhi salam lost his sight simply over missing one son. Son wasn't even dead. Son was comfortable in Egypt. Right? I mean, the son initially, yeah, he went through some hardships, but nothing unbearable. And then he's comfortable in Egypt. And yet Yaqub alayhi salam loses his sight over this. So many tears. And he says, and I saw before my eyes 18 of my household members being slaughtered. And these were the blood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what do you expect? But as he said in this khutbah, is those 6 qualities that distinguish Ahlul Bayt from everyone else. Knowledge, ilm, forbearance, hilm, generosity, sakhawat, eloquence, fush, courage, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed within the hearts of the believers their love. So if we don't have their heart, if their love isn't in our hearts, then we are not amongst the believers. So just remember those things: knowledge, forbearance, generosity, eloquence, courage, and love of the believers and for the believers. So remember those as we keep talking about them and him. So one of the things that happens is, because he's again blacklisted, so now, but he is that beacon of knowledge. So how do you get that knowledge out? He is also the beacon of generosity, the beacon of knowledge, generosity, courage, all of these things. How do you get those things? How do you transfer those things to this next generation so that they don't die with you, that they continue on? And of course, people have a hard time meeting you. If you remember, during the Khilafah of Umar, a lot of wealth came. Continued on during the Khilafah of Uthman. The distribution of the wealth, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein al-Islam were given as much as those who attended Badr, even though they were not in Badr, simply because of their connection to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so through the ages, they acquired a lot of property. But you see that there's no bounds for their generosity either. And so Imam Zainul Abedeen, what he does, and we mentioned this before, and we'll mention this again, every year at Ramadan he would buy 1,000 slaves. He would give them an intensive course for 1 year, teaching them, making sure they understood. And then at the end of that year, then they had graduated. He would free them, and then on top of that, he would give them money to go back to their places, to go back to their homes, to establish themselves there and continue the teaching. And it is said that over the course of his lifetime, he freed 50,000 slaves. And he treated them, it's not like, he bought them and treated them like slaves. He treated them very well. They were treated well, they were taught well, they were fed, everything was top-notch for them. And most of all, of course, the level of understanding. And to understand this, one time he was making wudu in one of his gardens. And one of the gardens that he had 500 date trees in it. And every night he would make 2 rakat beside each tree. So when the nights were long, So one night, he's making wudu, and one of the slave girls, so she is pouring the water. And when she brought the water, it's a little hot. And she's getting ready to pour it, and he's, crouched down, kneeling down, ready to make wudu. And the pail that she has the water in slips from her hand, and it hits him in the face, and it breaks the skin. So it's not like just a superficial thing. So he's injured by it, and so as soon as it falls on him, he looks up at her. And when he looks up at her, there's a verse in Surah Al Imran, verse number 134, which is الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين. So we'll go with the whole verse and then we'll see what she said. So, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this actually is one of those verses that also is revealed in honor of Ahlul Bayt. This is connected to the verses in Surah Insan where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about those who even when they are in need, they feed the poor and the miskeen or the miskeen and the yatim and the asir, the captives, so the orphans, the poor, the orphans, and the captives. So they are those who donate or who give or spend in the way of Allah, for the sake of Allah, in prosperity and adversity. You know, like for us, it's easy. You know, when things are good, so long as I got plenty left over, I can let go a little bit. Yeah, a few dimes, so long as I got my wealth. Okay. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't talk about them. He talks in this verse. He talks about those who give when they have prosperity and adversity. So when times are tough, they're still giving. Okay. But then it says, control their anger and pardon the people, or forgive the people. And Allah loves those who do good. So when he looks up at her, she says, وَالْكَاذِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ, those who control their anger. And he says that I'm not angry. He says, I've controlled my anger. And then, realizing the opportunity, the next thing she says is, وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and they forgive the people. And he says, I have forgiven you. And then she continues the ending of the verse, وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, and Allah loves those who do good. He says, I have freed you. Her teaching was complete now. Yeah. So he says, I have freed you. Okay. So again, forbearance, generosity, knowledge. One time he was passing through the streets and this man walked up to him out of the blue and starts cursing him and starts cursing his family. And there were a few men with Imam Zainul Abedeen who, suddenly are trying to rush forward, to attack the man. And Imam Zainul Abedeen holds them back. He said, no, let him finish. And, he says stuff. And he finishes, cursing him, cursing, the family members, everybody, just, This was the environment of the time. Because Imam Zainul Abedeen, as I said, he was born 38 Hijri, so he was there for 2 years under the tutelage of his grandfather, Sayyidina Ali Karamallah. And then he's there during the Khilafah of his uncle Imam Hassan. And then he's there for the 20 years of or 19 years of the rule of Muawiyah. And then he's there for the rule of Yazid, for the 3 years or so. He's also there, when the civil war starts in Banu Umayyah, the reign of Abdullah ibn Zubair, and then Abdul Malik bin Marwan and Abdul Malik bin Marwan, and then eventually he will pass away 95 Hijri, when Walid bin Abdul Malik will be the king. And we'll get to that point, or those points. So just kind of get a picture of who he is. So again, this guy is cursing him, and this is the time of Banu Umayyah. They have free reign to curse Ahlul Bayt, and there's no khutbah that is completed without cursing Ali. And these are things that are mentioned in hadith. These aren't things just, these are in the books of the history. These are things that are mentioned in Sahih Muslim. And people try to say, no. Sabt here is, they were just kind of political kind of where you taunt your political rival. No. You have literal hadith in Sahih Muslim where they talk about la'natullah, or the curse of Allah be on Abu Turab, meaning Ali. I mean, that's the wording in Sahih Muslim. And that the wording there is at least say this much. Sahal bin Sa'd, they ask him to say something against Ali. He says no. They say, well, then at least say Allah's curse be upon Allah, lana. And lana is not a small thing. Allah's lana or curse be upon Abu Turab. Abu Turab is the nickname of Ali. So at least say this, which means they're saying much more. So, because you have all these people, they say, oh, no, it was just kind of a political issue. No, it wasn't. So coming back, so the environment is this guy, he's doing all of this. Imam Zainul Abedeen tells his people, stay back. Finally, when he stops, Imam Zainul Abedeen asks him, he says, do you have any debt? He's kind of shocked. Yeah, yes I do. How much? He says 50,000 dirham. So he asks one of his men, he says, pay his debt. 50,000 dirham wasn't a small amount, pay his debt. So now, when he does this, suddenly this man wakes up. He's all this, this coma that he was in because of all of the propaganda, he realized, oh, this is something totally different. This is someone that is not normal in their terms. This is a supernatural being here. He understands that now. So he asks for forgiveness. Please forgive me. He said, fine, I forgive you. I've forgiven you. But he doesn't stop there. Because, a lot of times, somebody says something against you, I forgive you, but, I'm not, I really don't want anything to do with you, but I forgive you. All right. Yeah. So now he says, make me your disciple. I want to be with you. And Imam Zainul Abedeen accepts him. So again, this is knowledge, courage, forbearance, generosity that have no bounds. These are qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed with them and didn't put limits on these qualities for them. So so these are again things that we need to remember. When he returns to Medina, he's kind of sidelined, but he stays that way the rest of his life, in the sense that even when Abdullah ibn Zubair is the leader, he still doesn't come to the forefront, because he knows that coming to the forefront, he knows what's coming. These are people, again, like we were talking about Mitham. Rasulullah has already taught them. These are the sources of knowledge. So he knows what's coming. He knows that the rule of Abdullah ibn Zubair is not going to last. And what's going to come after that? Abdul Malik bin Marwan. And who will be his Abdul Malik's lapdog? Hajjaj bin Yusuf. The ruthless Hajjaj bin Yusuf, who kills everything in his path. He kills people simply because they look at him wrong. The one whom Rasulullah referred to as Zalim in Hadith. And the companion said there's no one other than that Zalim except Hajjaj. Okay. So this is why you'll see him, other than what he saw in Karbala, and the grief of that. But again, he knows what's coming. And so during the kingship of Walid, so Abdul Malik ruled for about 20 years, and then Walid will rule for about 10 years. During that kingship, Walid sends his younger brother Hisham bin Abdul Malik as the Amir of the Hajj. So think about this. You have Hisham bin Abdul Malik as the Amir of the Hajj. This is the person who's going to give the khutbah of the Hajj. This is the person who's going to lead the salats in Hajj. And people say, oh, how would Allah allow? Allah allows this because this is a test for the people. Allah allowed Quraysh to reign over Makkah. He allowed them to place 360 idols around the Kaaba. He allowed it. So why isn't he going to allow it now? Again, this is a test for the people. Do we obey Allah and His Messenger, or do we obey whoever? This is why He allows them to play with the moon sighting. Again, the people there, they have no choice, but people here, we have a choice. So are we going to obey Allah and His Messenger, or are we going to obey, these false kings? So this is, so Walid sends Hisham bin Abdul Malik as Amir of the Hajj. And Hisham, when he arrives in Mecca with his entourage, they have this whole delegation, entourage comes in. And at that moment, there are a lot of people making tawaf. It's very crowded. And he tries to get close to the Hajar Aswad to begin, to kiss it to begin his tawaf. But there's so many people that he keeps getting pushed out. Till he gets frustrated, and they go back and they set up a platform for the king, the king. So they set a platform up for him, and with and this entourage is sitting, and they're watching from a distance, looking at the Kaaba, watching the people make tawaf. And amongst the entourage was Farazdaq. Farazdaq was the court-appointed poet. Poetry was the media of the time, so the poet is going to what's that? Not dictate, but report all the great things that the Amir of the Hajj is doing for the Hajj, right? Yeah. So like these days, they send the news channels in. They all cover what the president's doing or what the king is doing, and everyone recording the history of what's happening. So this is what the poets used to do. Farazdaq was interesting because Farazdaq actually had fought in the Battle of the Camel and in Siffin on the side of Sayyidina Ali Karamallahu wajh. At least his father did. And his father brought Farazdaq because Farazdaq was such an eloquent poet for Ali Radhan to use, and Ali Radhan said, I don't need propaganda. He told him, he said, go memorize the Quran. So he tries to memorize the Quran, but he never completed it. But he had a close connection with Ahlul Bayt in that sense. But, Ahlul Bayt didn't care for their praises. The kings liked to be praised, and when the kings were praised, they gave a lot of money. So if you think about this, like even in Mughal India, the king had his poets.
Yeah, Shair.
Yeah, and the poets were paid well. Yeah. Anytime anything happened, the poets sang the praises of the king, and the king, I'm so happy. Let me give you some money. And this was how Farazdaq was making his money. Okay. Even though Farazdaq knew the truth. Because Farazdaq is also the one when Imam Hussein al-Islam was leaving Makkah to go to Karbala. Farazdaq was coming from Kufa, and Imam Hussein al-Islam asked him, he said, what is the condition of the people there? And he said that their hearts are with you, but their swords are with Banu Umayyah. Okay. Farazdaq is considered by most Arabic language scholars to be the best Arabic poet ever. There is a debate between him and Jarir. Some people say Jarir, but most scholars say Farazdaq. And his greatest poem is the one that I'm going to talk about now. So what happens is that again, this entourage of Hisham bin Abdul Malik, they're sitting on this takht, or this table, the court, that they built up, the stage that they're sitting on, and they're watching people, because to watch the Kaaba is also ibadah. So they accept that, but they don't accept that killing Ahlul Bayt is buying hell. So, dichotomy of thought. So anyway, so in the meantime, what happens is Imam Zainul Abedeen comes. And Imam Zainul Abedeen, when he arrives and the people see him, it's as if the sea parted for him. The sea of people, they make way, and he calmly walks up to the Hajar Aswad, he kisses it, and then he starts the tawaf. And of course, Hisham, seeing this, feeling insulted, and no one made way for him. So he makes this comment, he says, "Who is this man? Who is this guy?" He knows who he is, but to insult him, who is this man? So this is when Imam, or when Farazdak can't hold his tongue. There are times, when you feel that if you don't do something or say something, that your soul is totally gone. You've totally lost yourself. And this was the straw for Farazdak, is when Hisham, he makes this comment about Imam Zainul Abedeen. And so Farazdak, he looks at Hisham and he says, "What do you mean, who is this man? You know who this man is. How can you say, who is this man?" And then he goes into poetry. And he says, and the translation is, rough translation, "This is the one whose footsteps Meccan soil knows." The earth of Mecca knows when he's walking. They know who he is. "To Allah's house no stranger, in and out its burrows," meaning he's not a stranger for the area around Mecca or outside of Mecca. When he walks, the earth knows who he is. Everything knows who he is. Everyone knows him. This is the son of Allah's choicest creation. Khayra khalqillah is Rasulullah. This is the son of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the radiant of utmost purification. What was the characteristic that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? When Ibrahim alayhi salam makes the dua, tazkiyah, purifier. He is the purifier. And he is not just any purifier. He is the purifier who can make something unpure pure. Water doesn't make unpure things pure. Water simply removes the filth from what is already pure. You take a diamond and you put filth on it, and now it's filthy, but the diamond's still pure. You just simply remove the filth with the water. You take feces, and it doesn't matter how much you wipe it, how much you clean it with water, it's still impure. Because it started out impure, its essence is impure, and it doesn't matter how much you clean it, it's still impure. Rasulullah is the one who can make what is impure pure. And those who are connected to him, that authority he has extended on to them. And especially the household. And this is what he's saying. This is the one who is the purifier. He is purification. He is utmost purification himself, and he is purifier. So this is the radiant of the utmost purification. This is the son of Fatima, alayhi salam. It is to you unbehest. If to you unbehest. Even if you don't know, it doesn't matter if you don't know. Everybody and everything else knows. His grandfather amidst prophets hold the final post, meaning his grandfather amidst the prophets holds the banner. His grandfather is the leader of the prophets, the banner holder of the prophets.
Explaining about
Muhammad Rasulullah. you're chiding, or you're saying, who is this? From him won't detract. Meaning you're just saying, who is this? It doesn't reduce his position or status in the least. You can do that all you want, doesn't matter. Both Arabs and Persian know the one you attack. And he says actually it's Arab and Ajam, non-Arab. Everybody knows who you're attacking, knows him. Everywhere sought of no nourishment defective. I mean, everyone, or his hand, okay, and then before that, his hands are the rain, their providence extensive, wherever, everywhere sought of no nourishment defective. His hands, both his hands, are like rain, nourishing rain. He gives sustenance. His wasila, he himself gives sustenance. Allah gives sustenance through him, to all of creation. Whether it's the sustenance of the physical or the sustenance of the spiritual. And there is no defect in him. There is no defect in what he is giving. His disposition gentle. His instincts not feared. In etiquette and temperament, both he's revered. So, I don't think I should have to translate that. It's poetic the way they translated it, but that should be pretty easy to understand. That, his etiquette, his manners, his character, is something to be revered. People's burden bearer when they're in duress. So he is the one who takes on people's burdens when they're in duress, when they're in distress, when they're in trouble. He takes their burdens upon himself. Altogether lovely, with a parchment of yes, for yes. He never said no except in testimony. So again, we know Rasulullah ﷺ never said la, never said no except in the kalma. That's what it's referring to. He is the true heir of Rasulullah ﷺ. Imam Zainul Abedeen also never said la except in La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Whoever asked was given even more, or given even better. Otherwise, yes is his sole affinity, embracing creation with virtues effulgent, erasing all darkness and dearth repugnant. Again, these are his characteristics. Embracing the creation with the virtues and removing the darknesses, spiritual and physical from them. When Quraysh beholds, their chief does proclaim, behold, this man's virtue no one can attain. Forbearing in modesty, forbear by sagacity. And he isn't addressed but in geniality. In his hand is a staff whose scent does pervade, but its owner's yet sweeter, more fragrant in grade. Meaning, he's holding this staff that smells so good, but the fragrance of his hand, the fragrance of him, it supersedes all these other fragrances. The stone of Ismail yearns for his breeze. I'll come back to this point. When he pays it homage, his hand it does seize. So when he was, what he's saying here is that he is not in need of the Kaaba or the stone. The Kaaba yearns for him. The black stone yearns for him. And when he touches the stone, it's not he's touching the stone, it's as if the stone is touching him. The stone wants it, wants his hand. Eternal with Allah in his honor and might, in his sacred tablet, the pen does this does right, who in creation's not bound in subjection to his antecedents or his intercession. Rough meaning here is basically everybody it will be in need of his intercession. The beholden to Allah hold his supremacy, meaning those who true believers, those who honor Allah, understand the supremacy of Imam Zainul Abedeen. For religion's not sought except from his pedigree. How do we get our religion? From Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then that was passed on. But how? Who are the ones who allow us to understand the Quran? Ahlul Bayt. Who is Zainul Abedeen from? Ahlul Bayt. He belongs to faith's peak, which isn't surmounted, its heights leaving even skilled limbs astounded. Because he is the peak of this religion, the pinnacle. Zain, the pinnacle of the believers. Zainul Abedeen, literally meaning the pinnacle of the believers, the peak of the believers. That is him. So all of us who are trying to climb this mountain of worship. He's the pinnacle of worshipers. So all of us who are trying to climb this mountain of worshiping Allah, and when we look up, he is the peak. So he should be our objective. If we get to him, then Allah will accept us. The one whose grandfather's merits surpass all other prophets, whose nation's first class. Meaning, why is this ummah the greatest of ummah? Because of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. From Allah's prophets cleaved is his noble stream. So he is the lineage of that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How pure is its produce, its moral supreme. His countenance rents drove of darkness asunder, like the sun which chases the night with its thunder. He is from a brood whose love is religion. So he is from a people whose love is religion. So to love them is iman. There is no iman without loving them. So he is from those people without whose love iman is not iman. Doesn't matter what we say, and we can say the kalma all we want. But if we don't love them, then we have no iman. Whose hate is heinous, affection redemption. So to hate them is hypocrisy, and to have affection for them is our redemption. That is our means of salvation. Only Allah's name precedes their remembrance at every conclusion and at every entrance. If the pious are tallied, then they're the trailblazers. They are the ones who are the leaders of the pious. Or if asked who's the best, they merit all favors. The noble their majesty can't emulate, and no people can rival them even if great. They are rains of mercy at times of calamity, and lions ferocious in war's tenacity. Not tempted by trial in their magnanimity, self-saying they are whether in wealth or sagacity, meaning they are generous whether they have abundance or their times of hardship. Again, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا. That they give even when they themselves are in need. And then after they give, what do they say? That we don't want anything from you, not even a thank you. Evil and woe retract by their mention, and by them is sought blessing and perfection. And we'll come back to this last part here. Evil and woe retract by their mention in a minute. But above, I forgot to mention, he mentions their position, and their position in relation to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you remember, and there he's telling, because if you think of Banu Umayyah were claiming to be khalifas. Khalifa of who? Of Rasulullah, right? How can you be the Khalifa of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when you are not accepting the family? But this last part here, evil and woe retract by their mention. We'll go over this later. I've gone over this before. That chain of narrations, or narrator's chain, where Imam Ali Rida narrates the hadith, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hadith al-Qudsi, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that La ilaha illallah is my fort, and whoever enters my fort has entered my safety or protection. But when he narrates it from his father, who is Imam Musa Qasim, who narrates it from his father, Imam Jafar Sadiq, who narrates from his father, Imam Muhammad Baqir, who narrates from his father, Imam Zainul Abedeen, who narrates from his father, Imam Hussain al-Islam, who narrates from his father, Sayyidina Ali Karamallahu Wajh, who narrates from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who narrates from Allah. And Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, he says that this chain, this sanad, isnad, this chain has in it the power to cure the insane. And so this is what he's mentioning here, even before that. Of course, now when Farazdaqi, this is his greatest poem. People have done PhDs on this poem. Okay. But when he says all of this, of course, now he's saying it to the prince. So you can imagine the reaction of the prince.
Yeah, that's how.
Okay. Not going to be good. And Hisham is one of those ruthless people amongst Banu Umayyah. He is well known for his atrocities, and we will talk about him later again.
But still he came for to tawaf the Kaaba.
Yeah, people go to the Kaaba all the time. Quraysh went to the Kaaba. Quraysh used to make tawaf around the Kaaba naked.
He have hate.
Yeah, but see, this is hypocrisy. This is pure hypocrisy. Yeah, he came to the Kaaba. This is what people don't get. How would Allah allow them to have control of the Haramain? If they were so bad, how will He allow this? And so they derive from that. Oh, they must be good. No. Quraysh ruled over the Kaaba 96% of the lifetime of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Only the last 2.5 years was it under the control of the Muslims. So then it's under the control of the Muslims for the Khilafah, and then it goes back. But again, this is a test. This is part of the test. Do we obey Allah and the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or do we obey whoever and go whichever way, which is not the way to Jannah? So yeah, this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam already told us, that a time will come when the rulers will come for Hajj for show. The wealthy will come for vacation, the middle class will come for business, and the poor will come to beg. No one coming for the Hajj. So yeah, they come there, but it has nothing to do with any sincerity for anything. These are the same people who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling the companions that you will be ashamed of your recitation of the Quran. Your salat will seem insignificant to their salat, and your fasting will seem insignificant to their fasting. But they will go through Islam like an arrow through its prey, meaning they will get nothing, they will not be allowed back. They will go through it. When an arrow goes through the prey, it doesn't come back, it's gone. And then he also says that there'll be no blood on that arrow at all. Not on the tip, not on the shaft, not on the end. Meaning what? They got nothing from the religion. Yet superficially they seem so pious. You know, they come for salat and like this, and they got to straighten their head. I mean, it's all a facade, covering up their animosity for Ahlul Bayt. And this is what we're seeing today. And the people fall for it. The people doing it aren't the stupid ones. They know what they're doing. The people falling for it are the stupid ones. And people think, oh, how can you say that? It's the reality of the time.
Basically, shortcut in this life.
Yeah, because everybody wants what's easy. Easy.
You don't want to remember. And
you look at those who are truly masters. We were talking, again, who were we talking about in the beginning? Mitham. What did he go through for his love for Ahlul Bayt? They cut his hands, they cut his feet, they hung him upside down, they cut off his tongue, and it took him 2 days to die. It wasn't like a quick death. All because he would not curse or say anything against Ali, and all he did was sing his praises. Even after they're doing all of this, until they cut his tongue out, he's still singing his praises. And we think, we can sit in this air-conditioned room, and Allah's just gonna give us the deen just like that. And if we get a deen, it's not the deen that they had. It's not the real deen. Not like this.
Deen is Ahlul Bayt.
Deen is love, and love demands sacrifice. There is no love without sacrifice. And this, again, people, oh, how would Allah, come on, where are you living? Which tells you immediately when they make that argument, either they're trying to deceive the people, which many of them are, or they are totally clueless. They have no idea. I mean, see, that gets back to like a lot of people, and this Christian was attacking, a lot of people have this concept that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected the Kaaba because it was the Kaaba. See, when Abraha came to destroy the Kaaba, oh, this is the house of Allah, Allah protected his house. Then why did, if he protected the Kaaba for the sake of the Kaaba, then why did he allow Yazid to destroy the Kaaba? Yazid destroyed it. 3 of its walls fell. Abdullah ibn Zubayr rebuilt it in accordance to the way it was built by Ibrahim alayhi salam. Abdul Malik becomes the king. He tears it down and rebuilds it in accordance to what was there before. Banu Abbas become the kings, and they make plans to tear it down and rebuild it according to the original. And Imam Malik says, look, the Kaaba is not a toy thing in the hands of the kings. But a couple of hundred years later, Makkah is attacked again. Kaaba is destroyed. Hajar Aswad is taken away. Hajar Aswad was gone for like 20 years before it's finally returned. Hajar Aswad was broken into pieces. Why did Allah allow that? Why? But the real question is, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow it then and not allow it with Abraha? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not defend the Kaaba as the Rabbi Kaaba, and he mentions that in the Quran. Why did he defend the Kaaba at that time? You have to think about the time. Why did he defend the Kaaba at that time and allow it to be destroyed later? Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Did you not see, O my beloved, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what your Lord did to the people of the elephant. So he defends the Kaaba not as Rabbi Kaaba, even though he is the Rabb of the Kaaba. He defends the Kaaba as Rabbi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was about to be born. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is born 55 to 60 days after this incident. If he had allowed the Kaaba to be destroyed at that time, and Abraha to be victorious, they would have enslaved all of Mecca, including the mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is why he defended the Kaaba. He tells us in the Quran, what your Lord, he defended the Kaaba as the Lord of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that he could then begin his preaching from that pulpit. This is why he defended the Kaaba then, and he allowed it to be destroyed later. Of course, it was always rebuilt. And he also tells us, Rasulullah SAW told us that in the end it will be destroyed, not to be rebuilt. He also told us that a time will come when the Hajj and the Umrah will be abandoned. And we are seeing that now. Yeah, people are going there, but why are they going there? It's a vacation spot now. Tourist. So inshallah, I'll end here. Any questions? Any quick questions, rather? If not, write them down, and if you think it'll be a lengthy answer, write them down, and we'll cover them next week, inshallah. So any quick questions today, since it's already 3 o'clock? Oh, yes, I forgot. I'll mention this, otherwise I'd start this, and I'll mention this again. So Farazdak, of course, he says this. And Farazdak is jailed for this. So he gets jailed, and Imam Zainul Abedeen sends him a gift of some money after he hears that he's in jail. And so, and of course, the poem, which from an Arabic standpoint, very eloquent, so it becomes very easy for people to memorize, and it just spreads very quickly. So Imam Zainul Abedeen sends him a gift of some gold coins, and Farazdak, when the gift arrives, Farazdak, he responds, he says that I cannot accept this because I have made or I have spent my life praising these unworthy kings. And I did not do this for any worldly benefit, but I did this for the pleasure of Allah. So when the amount is brought back to Imam Zainul Abedeen, Imam Zainul Abedeen sends it back. And he says, I accept that you have done this for the pleasure of Allah, but I am from that household who, once they give, never accept back. So I can't take it back. It's yours now. He's eventually freed from jail, but he is jailed for quite a while, and of course jails were not pleasant like here, it wasn't a hotel stay. Anyway, so we'll end with that, inshallah. So yeah, I forgot to mention that because my mind shifted in a different direction. So inshallah, we'll continue from here next week. We'll talk a little bit more about Imam Zainul Abedeen. I didn't really finish up right there, and then we'll continue on from there, inshallah. So as I said, we'll go over the personalities and the time references there. So then we start making those connections, inshallah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept us and accept us as his slaves, and accept us as the ummah, from amongst the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and may he fill our hearts with his love and the true love of his beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and all of those whom they love. And may he give protection and victory to our brothers and sisters in Gaza and Palestine and wherever the Muslims are being oppressed over their oppressors. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.